Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be unboxing the Army Painters Mega Paint set. Now first of all I want to say a huge thank you to my YouTube channel sponsors Goblin Gaming, who sent me the box set out for review. If you check the description box down below you'll find a direct link to their web store. Now this video is going to be a long video guys, because I want to try and test out as many of the paints as I possibly can. We want to test out all the washes, we want to test out the metallics and a good selection of the colours on a palette and on some miniatures, and give you an overall review of what I think of the paints. So go grab yourselves a nice hot drink and we'll get started. Okay guys, so the first thing to know in this Mega Paint box set is we get 50 paints, and we also get a regiment brush. We also get a Wargamers Army painting guide. So the paints come in these little palettes like so, and you could actually reuse these as painting palettes, as you can see here, which had come in handy. And all the paints are nice and tidily packed in this case. I have to say that the packaging is absolutely fantastic. The paints come really well packaged. You get a really nice thick glossy guide going over using super glue, assembling your miniatures and those sorts of things, which is really cool. Using the Army Painter primers, colour primers there, the complete range, showing you all the colours in the range, and so on and so forth. So that's the painting guide. Then we get our nice Regiment Wargamers brush, which is going to be I'm going to use this for the actual review of the paints, and it's not going to be as good as a Winsor & Newton Series 7 guys, but then again it's not meant to. It's just going to be a standard decent brush. But what I do love about this brush is it comes with a triangular handle, and it fits really comfortable in the hand, so it's a nice addition to this paint set. Now just take out the paints like so, and as we can see there's different coloured caps. Now the different coloured caps are really a clever idea. What you'll find is that you have the metallics have black caps, the tones and washes have red caps, and the paints, if I can get one out, have white caps. Now this is really a cool idea, because when you've got them all stacked up on your shelves and racks, it's really easy to go straight over to your tones and washes, your metallics or your paints, just by looking at the colour of the caps. So I think that's a nice little touch from the Army Painter there. Also what I like as well is it's actually got each individual colour placed handily on the labels. As you can see, it's the actual tone, so you can tell straight away what paint colour you're getting just by the look of the label alone. Right, what I'm going to do now guys is start doing some tests on some miniatures. We'll probably start with the tones first of all, metallics, and then paints afterwards. So we'll come back after we've done that. And here we have the 4 tones and washes that you get in the set. So we have flesh wash, dark tone, soft tone, and strong tone. Now I've already prepared a bunch of miniatures that I've primed in black and white, and we're just going to test the tones out first of all. So let's test the flesh tone. So if I just get my palette, make sure I give the tone a good shake, make sure it's mixed thoroughly in the dropper bottle, and I place some on the palette like so. So this is the flesh wash. And as you can see, it goes down really nicely. I'm going to speed this up now, guys, and we're just going to paint the entirety of the miniature with the flesh tone. As you can see, guys, the flesh wash has pulled in all the recesses where it should do, and very little staining on open surfaces, which is what you want really with a flesh tone. Also, you can see that it's dried really matte, which is very good, and we don't want our washes and tones to dry with a glossy sheen like some of the very old washes used to. But this dries to a really nice matte finish, which is really nice. Okay, we'll try the dark tone next. Okay. Now this colour would be perfect for metallics, for really dark colours. And as you can see, again, it's going on absolutely lovely with the brush. Okay, we'll come back when it's all dry and it's been painted. And this is what the miniature looks like after it's dried. Now what I can tell with the dark tone is that, well, it's dark, but sometimes I use Norn oil and I do 2 passes on metallics just to really grub up the metallics. Now with this dark tone, I'd be able to do it in just 1 pass because it's such a strong tone, which I think is going to save a lot of time. So I really like this dark tone. Okay, so now we're going to go on to soft tone. Just again, give it a bit of a shake. Reminds me very much of Seraphim Sepia, so this is going to be perfect for purity seals, bone colours, I would imagine. Right, we'll come back when it's all painted. Okay guys, so here you can see we've got the soft tone and lastly out of the washes we get in a set we get strong tone. So now I'm just going to test that. This is very much like Agrax Earthshade, guys, and this is going to be perfect for shading leather, bronze, and that sort of thing. We'll come back when it's finished. And this is what the strong tone looks like once all painted on the miniature. And here we've got the miniatures all lined up from flesh wash, dark tone, soft tone and strong tone. Now they're very comparable to Games Workshop, and the reason I'm comparing them to Games Workshop, guys, is they're the most popular paints and the paints that you're probably most likely to have used. Now the flesh wash is comparable to Reikland Flesh Shade. Now in my personal opinion, this is much nicer than Reikland Flesh Shade, as Reikland Flesh Shade has a very red hue to it, and it can easily drown out the tone of flesh tones, whereas this is a lot more subtle in the red, so very, very nice. Dark tone, comparable to Nornal, but it's darker in finish. Soft tone looks very similar to Seraphim Sepia, and strong tone looks very similar to Agrax Earthshade. Now the benefit of these washes over Games Workshop I'm finding is the fact that they're in dropper bottles, and I mean, guys, how many memes have we seen on the internet of bottles of Null Null being spilt out of those terrible pots? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Games Workshop paints and I think they're fantastic, but I'm sorry, I cannot stand the pots that the paints come in. But obviously you get 18 ml in each one of these dropper bottles, as opposed to 12 ml with Games Workshop, so you're getting a lot more value for your money with these paint bottles. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to go on to the metallics. Okay, so we have plate mail metal, weapon bronze, greedy gold, gunmetal, and shining silver. So we have 5 paints from the metallic range of Army Painter in this set. What I want to say is all paints separate, guys, and metallics separate probably more than normal paints because of the particles in the medium. What I've done is I purchased 8mm glass beads from eBay. Now these are going to really help agitate the paint and mix it up when we shake, and these cost me just over £1 including shipping, so it's a really cheap solution to help you mix up your paint. So I'll just show you me putting one of these in the dropper bottles. Just take the lid off like so, very carefully. Pop a bead in, pop your lid on, and then we're going to shake it up. Now, it's very advisable that you shake your paints for at least 20 seconds, guys, to make sure they're thoroughly mixed. I'll be doing it off camera because you don't want to see me shaking a paint bottle over and over again. But get yourself some glass beads, pop them in the bottles, give them a good shake, and we'll get a thorough mix. So I'm going to do that now. Here you can see that I've got primed black miniatures. Now black generally works a lot better with metallic colours, guys, so that's the reason that we're going to be using black prime miniatures for the metallics. We're going to start off by painting the plate mail metal. Now I've shook this thoroughly and added an agitator glass bead. I'm just going to put a little on the palette. Now the consistency of the paint is quite thin, and it reminds me of paints from Vallejo Game Air. Now those paints paint absolutely fantastic out of the pot as it is, and I prefer thinner paints if I'm completely honest. I'm just going to zoom in a little. And as you can see, that's a really nice metallic colour. It's almost going on with one coat coverage. I'll come back in a moment, guys, when the miniature's all painted. This is what the miniature looks like painted with a plate mail metal paint. And someone on a Facebook forum where I was posting my written review of these paints mentioned that he wasn't a fan of the thin metallics. Now that's fair enough, everyone's entitled to their opinion and that's his preference. But my personal preference is I prefer the metallics to be thinner. The reason for this is it's going to clog up the details less, and also, as you can see, this is just one coat and it's covered over that black absolutely beautifully. Now we're going to try shining silver. I'm being really loose here, guys, and you can see how quickly I'm painting. When you're painting a miniature for yourselves, guys, I would advise you to take much greater care painting the miniature, but obviously as I've got so many miniatures to paint and test, I'm being really quick here. But even so, you can see that this colour Shining Silver is covering really well yet again. Here we have the Shining Silver all painted up, and it's a really nice, as it states, Shining Silver, guys. This would be absolutely perfect for hard edge highlighting your metallics after you'd finished them. Also if you're painting jewellery and really shiny objects. But yeah, very nice. So on to the next one. We're going to try gunmetal next. This is going to be an absolutely perfect colour for weapons like bolt guns and that sort of thing. Again, it's going on really nice with pretty much one coat coverage over black. Here is the gunmetal all painted up, guys. I'm really liking the reflective properties of these metallics, guys. They're really nice. Now we're going to try weapon bronze. Hopefully the camera's picking it up, guys, but this is going to require 2 coats, as it's a tiny bit patchy in some areas, whereas the other metallics covered with 1 pass, which is absolutely exceptional. But that's not a problem. I'm going to come back in, I'm going to touch up some of the slightly patchy areas, and I'll show you what it looks like then. And this is the weapon bronze after 2 thin coats. Now we're going to test out Greedy Gold. And this is what the Greedy Gold looks like after 1 pass. So it's a little patchy again, so I'm going to give it 1 more pass and we'll come back. And here's what the Greedy Gold looks like after 2 thin coats of paint. I said earlier on in the video that the washes would work absolutely fantastic with metallics, so let's test that out now. I'm going to use dark tone wash on the gunmetal paint. And this is what the miniature looks like after placing the dark tone over the gunmetal paint. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, guys, and a dry brush of either the plate mail metal or shining silver over the top of this would look absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to place a strong tone over the weapon bronze. And here we can see what the weapon bronze looks like after applying the strong tone. I'm going to apply soft tone to the greedy gold. And here we can see what the miniature looks like after it's been applied with soft tone over the greedy gold. Now we're going to test some of the paints from the range. Now I can't test every single paint in this video as it would go on for absolutely ever, but I'm going to try a variety of the different colours, and also, as I mentioned earlier in the video, each one will be getting a glass bead placed into the bottle and will be very thoroughly shook. So I'm going to come back in a moment and we'll test out Dragon Red first of all. Okay, so let's place a little on the palette. And now we'll just place some of the Dragon Red onto the miniature. And that's covering really nicely. We'll come back in a moment and we'll have a look at it once the miniature's all been painted. And here we have the Dragon Red fully painted. And this is with just one pass, guys, and I didn't dilute the paint. If I was painting the miniature correctly, I'd thin it down with a little water and I'd do it in 2 thin passes. But as it goes, it's gone on really nicely, as you can see. I think the most crucial thing that I've found with the Army Painter paints is they need a good shake, guys. Once this is done, as you can see, the paint goes on absolutely lovely. We also get an effect paint. This is dry rust. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dry brush this onto the metallic miniature that we painted earlier. I think that's a really nice effect paint, guys, and as you can see, adds a really nice rusty tone to your miniature. So another thing to note, guys, is the Army Painter do colour spray primers, and they have exact match paints to go with the primers. So if you primed and you wanted to go over it with a wash and then back over with the same colour again, you've got the exact same match paints. So let's try out the Alien Purple. I really like this alien purple colour, guys. Again, I'm not thinning this paint down at all, but it's always advisable that you thin your paints down and paint in 2 thin layers. But for speed, in these tests, I'm just covering with the paint straight out of the bottle. And here we can see the alien purple all painted on the miniature. Now this was just one pass again, guys, but very advisable to do it in 2 thin coats. But as you can see, the coverage is absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to try Demonic Yellow, guys. And as you can see, it comes out absolutely perfect on the palette. In fact, all the paints I've tried so far, after giving them a thorough shake, have come out on the palette absolutely fine. This colour, yellow, is a very difficult colour to manufacture, I would imagine. And this is doing really nice, but you can see that you're definitely going to need 2 coats of this Demonic Yellow colour. And here we have the Demonic Yellow after 1 pass. And as you can see, I really rush to do this, guys, but even so, 1 pass just won't be enough. 2 passes are going to be needed to get a nice strong even coverage. This is what the Demonic Yellow looks like after getting 2 coats of paint. We also get one more effect paint. We get Glistening Blood. Now, Glistening Blood should do exactly what it says on the bottle, and it should be a glossy bloody effect. So we'll test that out now. I'm going to apply some of the Glistening Blood to the miniature that I washed with the flesh wash earlier. And I'm just going to sponge on a little blood. Now, I've got to be honest, with this blood, it's very similar to Games Workshop's Blood for the Blood God, but as with Blood for the Blood God, I think a little bit more black needs to be added to make it look more realistic. We'll come back in a moment when that's dried to see if it's still got a glossy finish. As you can see, it's got a really nice gloss effect to it, so it makes it look like wet blood. Here I've added a tiny bit of the Army Painter's matte black to the Glistening Blood, and as you can see, it's a much more realistic blood tone just by adding a fraction of black paint. Now I'm going to try Jungle Green, only for the fact that I think it looks like an absolutely wonderful colour, guys. So let's try out Jungle Green. I've not added an agitator glass bead to this paint, and neither have I shook it, and I just want to show you the effects that you'll get. see how the paint's really watery and thin, and you can see a little bit of the medium in it. I'm going to add a glass bead, give it a good shake, and then I'm going to use it. Now I've given the jungle green a thorough mix, the medium and paint should be much nicer. As you can see, the paint's much thicker now and it's holding its form. And this is what the jungle green looks like after one pass. To get an even coverage, we're going to need 2 passes, but even so, with the 1 pass it looks really good. And I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of this colour. This will be brilliant for lens effects, OSL, and also Space Marine's eyes and those sorts of things. So I really like this colour. Now we're going to use some Barbarian Flesh. The Barbarian Flesh tone's going on really nicely. I believe this will do in one coat. This is a really strongly pigmented paint. And as you can see, guys, that's pretty much one coat coverage. There's a tiny few little areas where it's a tiny bit patchy, but I'd say it is a strong contender for a one coat coverage paint. Now I'm going to apply the flesh wash to it to see what the flesh wash looks like over a flesh paint. Looks pretty good, guys. I've not let it dry properly. As you can see, it's still wet there. That's not the actual flesh wash being glistening. It's just that it's not dried correctly yet. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more, and I'm going to come back in and we're going to dry brush over it using not Barbarian Flesh, we just used that. We're going to use Alvan Flesh. For a 2-minute paint job, guys, that doesn't look too bad at all. Obviously, guys, when you're painting, you won't be painting like I am, super quick and dry brushing flesh with a huge brush, but you get the idea that the paints are working really nice. Lastly, guys, I'm going to test out their matte white and matte black, as these are two very important colours to any paint range. So this is the matte black, guys, and that's going on beautifully. This, I found, even after shaking it, is quite a thin paint, thinner than some of the other paints, but that's not a problem at all, guys, when you've got coverage like this. This is one coat coverage over white, guys, and as you can see, it's a really nice black matte finish. Okay, now let's try the matte white over black. I'm pretty impressed, guys. That's not bad coverage at all. Now, covering white over black's notoriously difficult, but very impressed. I'm going to finish off painting and we'll come back. As you can see, after just one pass, guys, it's pretty much covered all of the black and it's left a really nice matte finish, and I literally blasted through this in 30 seconds to a minute, guys, and as you can see, there's still no brush stroke marks on the miniature. So yeah, really like that one. So we'll come back in a minute and we'll wrap up the video. Okay guys, so in conclusion, with the Army Painter Mega Paint Set, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, some of the colours are absolutely wonderful, like the Chungle Green, for example. Absolutely love that. The metallics are thin, but go down in pretty much one coat coverage, apart from the bronze and the gold, which need 2 coats, but that's fine as the paints are quite thin as it is, and you can get a nice, strong, even coverage of the paints. It's nice that they've also included 2 effect paints in the Glistening Blood and the Dry Rust. Now, there is one thing that I don't like about this set, and it's the fact that I've got messy hands because I've added agitators to each of the bottles. I will be contacting Jonas from Army Painter and asking him if there's any possibility of adding agitators to the bottles before they're sent out in future production lines of these paint bottles, as I think that would nail this paint set to be absolutely perfect if they did contain agitators in the bottle. Now, let's get to the best point about this paint set. This paint set is, sorry about the noise of the door, guys. This paint set is £81 at Goblin Gaming for 50 paints. That's absolutely phenomenal value. Let's break that down. If we break 50 paints down to by £1 each, it comes to £1.66 per paint pot. That's absolutely phenomenal value for 18mm of paint. When you compare that to Games Workshop's average price of about £3 per pot, and you only get 12mm of paint in those, you really can't argue with the value for money of this set, and you also get a paintbrush. Now, I'm not a salesman, guys, and I'm really honest in my reviews. If you don't believe me, go and check back on my previous review of the Pache Talon, where I really was not happy with it at all. But this set, phenomenal value, great set of paints, some really nice effect paints as well that you get in this box set with the Glistening Blood and the Dry Rust. As I say, the only thing that I would change is I would include agitators in each bottle out of the box. But doing this, guys, is super simple to do anyway. You might get a little bit messy doing it like I did. Maybe you're a bit cleverer than me and you won't get messy. But buy yourself some 8mm glass beads on eBay. It will cost you just over £1, and you'll be able to shake up and mix your paints really thoroughly, and you'll be happy with the end result, I think. But anyway, if you use Army Painter paints, guys, let me know in the comments field down below. Let me know what you think of them. If you're thinking of buying these, guys, please use the description box below and get them from Goblin Gaming, where I got these paints from. They was delivered in a day. You can't beat that, really. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching this long video, and I'll catch you in the next one.